Hello, everybody. This is Robin Vogt. Of course, you remember me from BrickCityBlockade.com podcast network, Talkin far, far away. And I know I look a little casual sitting here, but I think there's a reason that Scott and I are a little bit more casual this time around. And it's not just because we've been talking about Star Wars over the past quite a bit of time here, it seems like. But there's a pressing subject that I feel like we need to discuss here, not just as Star Wars fans, but as community members at the same time, because there's just so much happening right now in this world. And as podcasters, Scott and I felt that it would be really important just to get our thoughts out here. And the essential question we want to ask here today, while we are doing this, and you may be listening on Google Hangouts, or you might also be listening on the Google Play, which we are luckily now part of, and maybe listening on iTunes as well. Our question today that we're going to ask you, the people of the world and of the Star Wars community, is positivity is a tool for growth, not agenda. Scott, positivity is key, and it can't be taken lightly.
No, this world right now is just, it's fair to say it's a bit of a mess, and we have to be positive that maybe 5-10 years down the line that we can get through whatever mess we're in. So whether that's people understanding that something like global warming, there are people out there say it's not happening. It's happening. I mean, there was a video just put up of a glacier starting to fall apart. These things are happening to our world. We've got right now a kind of tense situation between North Korea and yourself in the US. I don't want to really go too much into that, but that's frightening. That is very frightening. Not just because it's just two countries, but other parts of the world could be drawn into this. And to me, it is very scary just to turn on the news and see that. So we've got to be positive that there are people in this world who can help to resolve that situation, and we don't go back into something like World War II, where all countries in the world are getting dragged into the mess that was. I speak of World War II. There's history right there telling us that we don't need to make that same mistake. We can move forward. I mean, we've had conflicts throughout the last 70 yeas, but nothing as bad since World War I and World War II. But history can show us that we can avoid these things. Back then, didn't have the technology. We have the technology now to kind of keep our eyes on things, and it's us, people of this world, of the Star Wars community, can make a difference to energize some hope into the world.
You bring up an awesome point there, Scott, and I'm going to piggyback off of that point, and that is that we in the podcasting community, it's amazing, 15 to 16 months later, we're sitting here, Scott, and amongst turmoil in around the world and misunderstanding on so many different parts, people who are ill-informed, people who are informed but just don't know what to do with it, to be able to have their voice heard. As podcasters, specifically, voices that people listen to. I feel like it is our duty to discuss this stuff, not just because we can, because we have the platform to do it, basically, but because we are a voice in a community. And it's so important that we share our thoughts on this, basically. And you bring up a really good point that not only is it positivity, but when we're talking about everything, all this turmoil happening, the worst thing to do is to not say anything and to sit behind and let yourself basically marinate in the negativity that this world has now fluctuated to and has now allowed itself to now finish its marination, and now we're finally sitting in it and trying to figure out what to do. And my message specifically, and the message of when we're talking about positivity as a tool for growth, not agenda, what I mean specifically by agenda, and what really I want to focus on, is that agenda is something that's carried out not just by individuals, but by groups and by the larger politicians. Not going to name names, not going to, because it's not just here in America, it's across the world. It doesn't matter where you go. There are things that are happening that have allowed us to bring this discussion to the forefront. And I think agenda truly is a negative word in some ways. And I think our job as a community, Scott, is to take that word and say, no, agendas can be difference makers. Agendas can move groups away from their negative mindset and move them towards a more positive and inclusive mindset, allowing everybody to prosper in this world. I know it's a foreign subject right now with everything happening, but the possibilities are endless. And as voices, and as the Star Wars community specifically, one of the most powerful voices right now when it comes to popular media right now. Star Wars is a huge format. I call all the podcasters in the Star Wars community to have these discussions, not in a negative format, but on a positive format, because there are people who need guidance. There are people who are listeners who need guidance. And it's just going to be our agenda, our positive agenda, to try to move these discussions forward.
It's just like there's a quote from Jen says that rebellion is about hope. Now, we're not talking about starting rebellions, but in Star Wars, there was hope for a rebellion to push past, and their agenda wasn't just to overthrow the Empire. Their agenda was to bring freedom back to the galaxy. We're not talking about that here, obviously, but you're saying agenda, there are certain people in this world, politicians and all that, who have a specific agenda, I can't even say it right, who just want a simple way of, it's their way or no way. No, it has to be everybody's way. It has to be a way of everybody has to agree on this agenda, not just small groups that say, right, this is how we're doing it, and if you don't like it, tough. No, that's not how it should work. I'm not going to go down a word that would close to say, but this is a democracy here in the UK, there in the US, Australia, France, Germany, the rest of Europe, because there's some countries that don't even have that, and some countries have politicians and leaders who say that this is our agenda and you're liking it. They just have to go with it. But we're lucky in our world to have a choice of not going with that agenda. And here in the UK, we have different parties who have agendas, and we're able to say, well, we don't want that one, but we want that one. And they listen to us, and we can help change that. There are some parties, like the Looney Bin Party, who go on their their website, and you can choose what agenda you want. That would be a great way to do it. But it means that everybody's getting a say in it.
It's so important that we, as not just US citizens, Scottish citizens, UK citizens, but citizens of the world, the citizens of the world have a voice, because sometimes that voice is drained out. And I'm somebody, when it specifically comes to United States politics, I'm a constitutionalist at heart. I'm somebody who has researched and studied the United States Constitution, does it on an average basis. On an average basis, working within school unions and whatever else. And the most important piece coming from that into what we do is that there needs to be a voice. Because without a voice, it's just absolute chaos. And it doesn't matter whether it starts as a negative voice, it has to end with a positive mindset and a positive voice. There's nothing wrong with constructive criticism, Scott. You know that more than anybody, and I know that, and everybody here at the Brick City Blockade Podcast Network knows that constructive criticism is what drives the conversation forward. But when you stop that conversation right at a negative point and don't allow for others to rebuttal or give them the chance to even give some positive insight, nothing's going to be accomplished. This is what we're seeing in the world right now, is that the positivity has found its end. People are losing out and losing their voice. The Constitution, whether it's the Magna Carta, doesn't matter. The founding document that created the United States Constitution is being abused to its last end. And it's very, very disturbing, not just as a constitutionalist and somebody who enjoys history, but as somebody, as a world citizen, who is now sitting back, you yourself included, and is now seeing these changes happening. And it's just absolutely mind-boggling. And we wonder, how did we get to this point? And I stem it directly to, I'm going to be curious to hear your thoughts on this, Scott. I stem it specifically to people being persuaded in certain ways. The agenda is persuading them. They're not looking at the full perspective on it. And it's not that I'm saying, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that individuals are uneducated. There are a lot of educated individuals out there. Every single person is educated, whether it's street smarts, whether it's from college, formal training, whatever else. Everybody is educated. It's just what we do with our experiences that determines how we look at this. Scott, curious to hear your thoughts on this. People need to look at the entire situation, not just with this constructive criticism, but offer positive ways of moving it forward.
Yeah, people need to kind of don't look at what's being shown to them on TV, not what's being shown to them online. They need to go a bit further than that. I mean, for my example, I voted no in the Scottish referendum. I'm going to put that there. It's been a few years now since we've had it. And I believe we were lied to. That's me, personally. And afterwards, and after a few months had gone by, a year had gone by, and it's just like, so it's not right here. And I was told by other people to look, and I didn't look, and that was my fault. I didn't look beyond. I was just looking this simple little thing. But since then, I've kind of opened my mind. I've kind of, changed my mind about it. But yeah, don't just look at what that person's saying or these persons are saying. Look beyond it. Dig deep. Look for the information. Don't just go with what's in the media. Don't just go with what's out, like you in newspapers and that. Just look for yourself. Dig deep, because that's where you'll get real information, and that's where you'll be surprised at what you see and what you find, and you'll open your mind further, and that'll lead you to positive thinking. That'll lead you to go, this is the way you want to go. This is the true answer. Don't just go and follow people and don't feed you the stuff that you want to hear. You have to do the work yourself. You have to figure out. You have to find it. And yeah, that's just being positive about yourself to try and find the right information.
Create your own voice. Create your own voice in this world. Because amongst your voice, there are billions of others that flush it out. The beauty of a podcast like this, and those of you in the Star Wars community who do podcasts, or in the nerd community alone that do podcasts, there are multiple voices within this platform. But it is your voice that brings the listener in. It's Scott and I, our voices. His wonderful, beautiful Scottish accent is what brings the people here. That's the whole point. All of these voices across the network, Brian, Chris, Sean, all our own unique voices, drive the conversation forward. But we wouldn't have gotten to this spot. We wouldn't have gotten to this spot unless we knew that our voice could bring the potential, that our voice would actually be heard, and that we would be bringing you content on a weekly basis, 2 to 3 episodes a week sometimes. It's amazing what can happen when your voice is exposed and you're able to spew out, not negativity, but the positive mindset, and looking at things with constructive criticism and saying, you know what, I don't agree with it. I think they should have done this. But at the same time, I have to learn to adjust to it and learn how to express myself when these things happen in the proper light. If you continue to push the negativity piece and you continue to attack each other based on that, there's nothing wrong with attacks as long as they're calculated and they make sense. There's nothing wrong with that. But they should be constructive, and they should be pushing this conversation forward, because as a world, we are a community alone. It's not just you against me and that. Because guess what? That's what the cavemen did early on. When this world began, it was me against you. It was a cycle of growth that brought on community. And we're at the most challenging time right now in our world, Scott, where we are finding ourselves at the time of you against me again. You against me. It's amazing. In the 21st century that we have ended up back here. And maybe this is just some ultimate test of humankind. Maybe this is our most ultimate test. And that sounds like a really bad phrase line to the next Transformers film.
Yeah, maybe.
But at the same time, or a bad Independence Day film. We know how those are going.
Yeah.
But at the same time, your own voice is what is carrying it forward. Look at it with constructive criticism. Pay no mind, like Scott says, to the voices around you. Do what you do best and try to find that little niche in this world where your voice can get out there and you can bring the positive words. Scott, one of the most important things right now in this world is independent voice in expressing ourselves. And when that collective unit has a similar voice, it's really amazing what it can do when it is positive.
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing it on this podcast. Well, when I joined, it was back in January, we've been doing it. You and Sean have been doing it. Brian, James, everybody. When we do our reviews, we don't, of the Star Wars books, we don't make a negative about it. We give positive insights about it. And that's what you're saying, be positive about everything. Because this world needs it so very, very badly. That's what we're here to do. We're just here to give more positive messages. I've seen stuff that's been negative, and it's not nice. And it just throws people off. I'd rather us be positive. That's what we do. We all have the same voice, and that's what podcasting is. YouTube, podcasting, etc. They're all there to get your voice out and to just say something to make this world better. Because it's, at the end of the day, it's us that's going to have to carry on with this world for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years for the next generation to deal with it. And they're going to have the same platforms, probably more platforms than we've got right now, to put even a more positive message out there.
It's a generational thing, too. Let's bring that up as well. Because there is this gap of understanding. The youth of the world is righteous and crazy. It is. It's just natural. It's what comes with the age. But there's nothing saying whatsoever that they can't find their individual voice. They just haven't explored it yet. They just go with the flow. Social media, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube sometimes. They go with the flow and they think it's okay to do that because that's what they've been taught to do because of this new media. They were born into the new media format. And it's very frustrating. And I'm not talking like I'm 62 years old. If you guys don't know how old I am, I'm only 23 years old and I'm trying to spew this stuff out. I see it with my own generation. We're coming out of college. We're just getting used to getting our feet wet in this world. And it's frustrating when I see my peers getting caught, getting absolutely trapped in what has been cycling. And some of them really do explore the positive ways of bringing this nation and this world and all nations of this world together. But at the same time, there are a select few who just look at it and they sit back and they just say, I can't deal with this right now. It's at our doorfront right now. And there's something that needs to be said. Voices need to be heard. That is the message here. Positivity is a tool for growth, not agenda. By sitting there, you are creating your own agenda of not being bothered by it. Yet when you walk out your door and the agenda is thrown right at your face, I don't like this agenda at all. You know what? Then you haven't really established what you really want in this world yet. And that's a pretty bold statement. I would think that's a pretty bold statement to make, and I don't mean to offend my generation based on that. But in all honesty, if you haven't established yourself and your voice, and people don't understand where you're coming from, that agenda hits you right in the face, and you end up just going right back inside and you sit there and you soak it all in. And it's very sad, Scott. It really is. And it's time for the voices to start being formulated.
Yeah, I mean, I'm nobody knows how old I am, 31. So there's a big gap, not that much of a gap between us, but 8 years, 7, 8 years. And throughout my 20s, I was kind of like that. Just, I didn't really want to know about it. But the last few years, I've started to kind of say, wanted to stay in my piece. I'm not liking what I'm seeing. I'm not liking the agendas I'm seeing. I'm not liking the things I am seeing on TV and all that. I don't like it. And I want to say stuff about it. I want to, and this is saying it on this platform tells me to say that I just don't like it. And I just want the world to be a better place. Because I'm seeing my generations, some of them, they are interested in it, but some of them just don't want to know about it. They just want to be shut away from it. They don't care about it. They just want to get on with their own lives. I'm sorry, but thinking like that has now come to an end. We have to take it in our hands and deal with it right now. And I mean, we've been talking for quite a while now about how we feel about this world. You, me, James, we've been talking about it, and I just feel talking to you guys, it's starting to open me more and more wanting to deal with this. So yeah, I feel not just your generation who are just coming out of college or university who just don't want to deal with it, just want to start partying in their lives in their 20s. They need to start taking a more active role, because I was like that throughout my 20s and I'm in my 30s and I'm starting to feel I don't want that anymore. I want a positive look on life. Also have a bit of fun, but also the world needs to have us do something. That's what we're here for, to try and say our piece.
This entire time we've been talking, Scott, on a more humorous note, I've been waiting for somebody in the background to scream, "What is he proposing?" I've been waiting for it, and I haven't heard it yet. So I think we're doing good up to this point. I really do. I think that whatever we're saying is hopefully making an impact with one of our listeners, which is the goal. That's the goal of this discussion. It's not to be like, "Hey guys, we know all the answers." No, that's not it at all. I don't want to know all the answers. I want to interact with each and every one of you. That's why we do what we do. This is why when I first started this podcast, when I first started day one, I said, we're going to go to comic book conventions. We're not going to get paid to do these things. We're going to go and we're going to sit with the fans and have a discussion. They're already paying their way in. Why should they have to pay more to see us? Because that is where the discussion is built. That is where the roots of not just democracy, but of world politics are. There shouldn't have to be a price point on everything. Seems to be a trend right now. There has to be a price point on everything. There doesn't have to be. The people come to you because they don't want to pay to see you. They want to hear what you have to say. And that's something that I've come to a reality on at this point so far. Whether that changes or not, we'll see. The minute New York Comic Con books me, I'm sure it will change. However, at the same time, it is something that I hope to carry throughout. Scott, you seem to be the same way. Ever since I met you, it was like, no, I am not the one who's going to make them pay or ask or continually beg for the discussion. I'm just going to bring the discussion right to them.
No, I don't want people to pay to see me. I'd rather they come and see us for free. That's what we enjoy doing this, and this is for the fans. We want them to listen to us and be positive and interactive with us. I mean, I've been to conventions where I've paid to get in, and you get the talks for free. You get the actors because that's what they want. They're not there just to, show face. They're there to interact with you and have a panel discussion with you. I mean, I've been to a few panels of Mark Hamill's Celebration. He gave a really positive panel about life and that. He even gave one about Carrie Fisher, the Celebration this year, and he gave everybody was just there to hear him give a positive message about Carrie Fisher. Not all the negative stuff she's done, all the positive stuff, all the bad things, not all the bad things around her. He wanted to give people that that she was a fantastic woman, that she was funny, she was clever, she was someone that you wish you could see on a daily basis yourself, like someone who could probably give you a wee bit of, if you're feeling down, she would give you positive. She was very positive woman, very positive woman. But yeah, just I can't really say more than that.
You bring up a really good point, and great connection to Star Wars alone is Miss Carrie Fisher, who we really miss, and I'm sure once The Last Jedi comes around, we will be sharing boxes of tissues when we see her lovely, lovely face on the screen again. And amongst all of her troubles and everything she had been through, even up until the day that she died, she still kept that positive mindset. She still kept it. It didn't matter what the situation was. No matter how negative it got, she still found a way to be positive. Was she sometimes jokingly negative? Yes, but that was what drove the discussion forward and got it to a positive space. Her book is a great example of that. If you read her novel, A Princess Diary, it does such a great job not only of outlining her life, but also outlining the lives that she touched and what she did for her daughter and all the relationships that she went through. Of course, the one that we recently found out not too long ago that she had with Harrison Ford. But she never looked at it in a negative light. She looked at it in a positive way. It was an experience that I had, and it was one that she will never regret. And that is the way to look at life. Each experience, whether negative or positive, always has a reason for happening. It is what you make of it that drives it forward and makes it that memorable piece of your mind and a memory within there that you can take out and say, wow, I remember that moment. Carrie Fisher did that for us in the Star Wars community. She really did. And I think that's something to reflect on as we have this discussion. Carrie Fisher never had an agenda. She only focused on positivity. Positivity was never an agenda. Neither was negativity. Life was her agenda. And she wanted to follow it the entire time. I think that's really the message, Scott, that we want to get across. Is that voice and life alone are never associated with a negative agenda. Never. Life is an agenda of its own that you need to focus on. Voice is an agenda of its own that you need to focus on. And positivity alone is the agenda that we all need to focus on.
Yeah, you fit it in the head right there. Like you have to have your own agenda and not be influenced by everybody else's agenda. You have to set your own. You have to go with it. If you want your agenda to be world conquest, that's your agenda. I don't want to go near it. But if you want to make a positive impact on this world, and that's your agenda for the whole of this community, not just the Star Wars community, but the whole world community, whether it's to make global warming the biggest issue of the planet, or helping people in Africa who are starving, stuff like that. If that's your agenda, then make it a positive one. Don't make it a negative one. Make it a positive one for them so that they can then become positive themselves to go forward into this world. Whether it's the 21st century, late 21st century, 22nd, 24th, and 25th. And I know this is Star Wars Podcast Network, but I will go with what Gene Roddenberry once said, and this is a positive message. In the 24th century, there'll be no war, no hunger, and all the children in the world will know how to read. This is from a man who fought in World War II and in the police force. And he came up with that positive message for Star Trek. And that was his mind of how the world could become one day as everybody would work together. And I would love to see that one day.
Sci-fi in real life. That is one of the beautiful connections that we have with this world. That is why we come on here and we do this. We wouldn't be sitting here right now recording this, putting it across social media and everywhere, if we didn't believe in it. And my challenge to the Star Wars community and to the world community, I believe this will be Scott's challenge as well, is to have these discussions. Go away from whatever subject you're used to talking about and talk about the world for a second. Because without the world and its environment and the people within it, it wouldn't be possible. These podcasts, this nation, this community would not be possible. All right, Scott, I think it's that time of the show. It's a little thing we like to call
plug time.
That's right. It's a little thing we like to call plug time. All right, Mr. Scott Inch, where can the good people find your positive message across social media?
You can find my positive message on Facebook at Scott Inch or on Twitter at Scottish85. In about 5 weeks' time, you'll see my positive message with Robin, James, Sean, and Brian, and everybody else when I come over to, well, give them the Scottish stupid, shall I say.
I love it. I love it. No agenda set for that man when he comes over. It's just going to be full-on nerdum, and I absolutely am willing and so happy that I'm going to be able to enjoy that with everybody here at the network. So you guys can follow me over on Twitter at Mr. Vote Tweets. Make sure to head on over to Instagram. Follow me at The Official Vote. Please head on over to BrickCityBlockade.com for everything positive happening in the Star Wars universe and in the world itself. Also, make sure to head on over to iTunes, subscribe, and most importantly, rate and comment. That's the most important thing. We want to hear your voice. We want to know how you feel. It's what brings these discussions forward, and it's what keeps the community connected. And also, very happy to announce, please make sure to subscribe to us and listen on Google Play. We are on both formats now. You can listen to us on Android now as well. So we're very excited about that. All right, Scott, I think we've gotten our point across, and I think we've also been able to give some insight into the people and to how we feel about this and where we are going forward. And to encourage those discussions, please get on Twitter, talk to us, have these discussions every second day and every second that you have in your life. Thank you guys for listening, and may the Force be with you.
Always.